Hello everyone. I hope you are doing good and safe at your homes. TechInfoRay is back with another interesting video and playlist. So in this, I'll discuss about AWS migration, planning, and approach. So far, I have created a lot of videos for creating infrastructure over AWS and also created some videos for Microsoft Azure also. So now I'm back with another video where we will discuss about migration from on-premises to AWS Cloud. So in this video, we will talk about planning, how to plan the migration, what all things needs to be kept in mind, and the approach, how to lift and shift, or what approach we are going to follow. So all these things we will discuss in this video. So I'll create small videos so that you can see all those videos and then watch all the videos. This is the first part of the video. So next part I'll create another video. So this is a whole complete playlist, so you can go through it and learn this very interesting concept of migration. So and mostly this is the way how in actual migration is done when a customer comes on board and comes with problems and challenges. He says that I have a number of servers or workloads or applications, and I want to migrate those servers to AWS Cloud. So that's how things start, and then workshops are conducted, and then that's migration is planned. So same thing I'm going to discuss in this video. So I hope it will help you to clear your migration concepts, and you will learn a lot of things over here. So moving forward, so agenda of this slide is we will talk about migration planning and approach. Also, there are practicals in this video. So whatever I am talking theoretically, I'll show you all those things in practical also. So migration planning and approach, we will start with assessment of the current environment and how we can mobilize it and then migrate it. So these are the basic concepts, how we are going to assess the current environment of customer, and then using various tools, we mobilize it, we provide various ways to create business cases and assessment, and how we can move forward so that customer can have a clear picture and transparency out of it. And after that, once everything is okay with the customer, then we start migration of the workloads to AWS Cloud. So these are basic things and how we plan migration and approach. And then after that, migration practicals in this. In this, we will discuss about the architecture discussion, the architecture that will be in place, that is for on-premises and for Microsoft Azure, and then how it will be migrated to AWS Cloud. So I'll discuss about the architecture also. Then there is a AWS Cloud Formation script already present. So we will deploy that in environment, the architecture using that Cloud Formation template that is created by AWS for learning purposes. So I'm using that AWS Cloud Formation stack to deploy the architecture, so that we need not to waste time in creating the base infrastructure, but here we are stressing more on migration concepts. So base infrastructure that will be deployed using the CloudFormation stack. So just click on the stack and whole infrastructure will be ready. So after that, you can start performing your practicals to clear your migration concepts. So if you are not sure about how to create instances, how to connect that and all those basic concepts, I would suggest you to go to my previous videos where you will learn how to create network infrastructure, create compute, create how to connect them. So various lot of things are there, basics. So that's very important to learn. Only then you will understand the things in the migration practicals. So once architecture is deployed using CloudFormation, then we will I'll show you practically the migration approach, which is called rehost. So we will rehost the environment from on-premises to Azure. from on-premises and from Microsoft Azure to AWS. And in that, we will also see about another migration approach, which is called replatform. So these are two different migration approaches we will discuss in this video. And then we will use AWS Application Discovery software. In that, I'll show you practically how to discover all those infrastructure, the dependencies of the application and network connections. And once we have all that information in place, then we'll start migrating the workload using AWS Application Migration Service. So very interesting thing and very interesting concept of using AWS migration service to lift and shift or rehost the environment. So this will automatically select the servers, and then we can migrate those servers from on-premises and from Azure to AWS. So once this is done, once we lift and shift the applications, the databases to AWS, after that we need to modernize the infrastructure. So we will use the already migrated lift and shift rehost database. So we will migrate that database to AWS database, AWS managed database using AWS Data Migration Service. So first we will lift and shift, then we will migrate that database to AWS managed database. So sort of modernization of the infrastructure, so that we can leverage the AWS cloud services. So, and we can concentrate more on the business part. So because I hope you understand the concept in my previous videos that when we are using AWS managed services, we are not concerned about underlying infrastructure, the underlying maintenance and the patching, the hosting of operating system and installation of database patching. So all these things, and high availability, of course, and the availability of the service. So we need not to worry about that. So once we move to AWS managed services, then we need not to worry about that. We use the service and pay for that on demand. And more important, based on demand. So for the time being, we will use that service. We need to pay for that only. So let's move forward and let's have more. What I'm going to cover in this series of videos, I'll cover that in first part of video, and then I'll start with the practicals. So migration planning and approach, I explained assess, mobilize, and migrate. So in this, this is the overview how migration planning is done. So in the assess part, we will use various tools to assess the current infrastructure of the customer. So we will assess the readiness of the customer environment, how much it is ready, and assess from various aspects, from business part, from financial part, and from IT infrastructure, applications. So all those things are assessed, like the how much environment is ready to migrate to cloud, and based on that we prioritize the things which can be migrated first. So that's all done in the migration planning and approach. So there is a tool for MPA tool is there. So we will use various tools for that, and we will assess the readiness of current infrastructure, which is very important. So that's the important thing in migration. The more and more information that you have for the current infrastructure, the migration will be more and more smooth. So we also understand the challenges of the customer current in the current environment, what kind of challenges they are facing. So there can be a end of lease of the data center. So customer want to move to AWS cloud, so that can be a one part of challenge that customer is facing. So keeping all those challenges, the pain points, and long-term perspective of the customer. So we will assess the current readiness of the infrastructure, and based on that, we create a business use case. So after discovery of environment, we will create a business use case, for the customer. So in this business case, we will use MPA tool, and in that we will get the cost analysis of current infrastructure, the total cost of ownership, because when we talk about on-premises infrastructure, there is a lot of cost for not only, we cannot say we are paying for only one server. So if we want to understand the complete cost of the environment, then we will need to assess all those basic things, underlying infrastructure, the cost of the property where data center is created, the rents that we are paying for it, and the cooling part, the physical security. So a lot of things are there that comes into picture while analyzing the cost of the infrastructure. So based on that, we create total cost of ownership of the environment, how the total cost that is running currently and in future also, how much needs to be paid. So based on that, we create the business case where a customer come to know about the current costing, and then how much cost will be there on AWS Cloud. So all those things are discussed in detail, and how the migration to AWS cloud will be benefited. So all these things are done in assessment part, and then after that, migration project briefing. So once everything is done, we gather the information, we assess the readiness of the infrastructure, of the environment from different perspectives, and also understood the challenges, the pain points, and long-term strategy of the customer. Then we conduct a workshop with the stakeholders, and then brief about the migration of the project, that how things will be done, the milestone, the risks, and the challenges that are there. So all those, and how to create the business use case that is created using business case milestone. And during the workshop, we present all that use case, the cost analysis, the TCO reporting. So all these things are presented to the stakeholders so that they can take their decisions, they will find it like, okay, moving to a cloud will be really helpful and benefit for the for the business from financial standpoint of view. So all these things are discussed in the migration project briefing and workshop with the stakeholders. So once this is done, then we will come to next phase, which is called Mobilize. So in this, discovery and planning is done. So discovery and planning into more depth, using various tools like application discovery surveys, and what all we check the dependencies of the application, the network connections, and the planning for landing zone on AWS. So all these things are discussed in detail, and skill assessment of the customer existing environment, existing resources. Do they have relevant skills? So once all the infrastructure is moved to AWS Cloud, do they have skills or not? So all those things are discussed in Mobilize. Creation of business case, more details are inserted into the business case to make it more effective for understanding for the customer. Then also we discuss about migration planning and approach. So in this migration planning and approach, we will discuss what all infrastructure will be migrated, what will be done in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, so that the less critical things can be migrated first and tested. Then the second phase, medium critical applications can be moved, and in the final stage, more and more critical things will be moved. So initially, a customer is not having confidence to move to cloud. So once we complete phase 1 and phase 2, so they will gain more confidence, and he can move to AWS cloud with more confidence. And how the operating model will look like. So all these things are discussed in Mobilize. But on the top of that, we need to also think about security and compliance of the environment. So how to meet the current security requirements, what all security in architecture is in place, so that, and assess the security policies. So based on those current security infrastructure, the framework, the security policies, and the understanding of compliance requirements, the regulations. So very important thing during migration. So so understand the current infrastructure, the the servers, the application migration database, and how access is controlled, the authorization is done, the encryption is done. So from security standpoint of view, all these things are very important, needs to be discussed and clarified with the customer. So that same, all these things can be created on the AWS cloud. So after that, next phase is the migration and modernization. So using various AWS tools, we will migrate the workloads based on the planning, the planning that we did in assessment, the mobilization. So based on that, we will actually move the servers from on-premises to AWS cloud, and also start the operations of the migrated environment. And after that, when it is migrated, we mostly use lift and shift initially, but later we will also think about modernizing of the current infrastructure. Modernizing, I mean to say, uh, uh, moving the current infrastructure from, like in lift and shift, we migrate the servers to the EC2 instances, but that's not the correct way of leveraging the AWS cloud services or the cloud benefits. So in that case, we will move to modernizing the infrastructure, like the database that is running on EC2 instances, we will migrate that database to AWS managed database service, and also optimized from various aspects like costing optimization, the utilization of servers. So all these things are done in modernize and optimization. The licenses part, so are they having correct license for database? So all these things are discussed in modernization and optimization. So so how you understand the basic concept, how customer migration planning overview and approach is done. So based on various phases, so phase one assessment, then mobilize, then after that migration and modernization of the infrastructure. So I hope it gives clarity how things are done at various stages, and gain customer confidence so that he can successfully migrate, and also gather more and more information from different perspectives. And in the end, once customer is migrated to cloud, he can see all those benefits. So that's very important to meet all those requirements. So I hope you will get very high level about what all is done in different phases, how migration is done. So let's move forward. So this is the reference architecture that I am going to use in this series of videos, where we will talk about the migration. So we will migrate. Although we do not have current customer data center in place, but we will create this environment on AWS itself. But and we will create one target environment on AWS itself, and using AWS services, we will migrate this environment to AWS, and also from Microsoft Azure cloud, we will create servers, and from there also we will migrate the server from Azure to AWS. So this is the reference architecture. We will create this infrastructure. So this will be similar to the how customer data center looks like, and a creation of various subnets, and how different application servers are in place, the databases are in place. So this is a kind of similar kind of environment that is in place for customer data center, and how we are going to plan the same environment on the AWS cloud. So on the AWS cloud also, we create the same the region in which we are going to host the infrastructure, the VPC, the migration, the planning for creating the subnets for migration, and target subnet, where we are going to deploy the customer infrastructure. Similarly, we will use various AWS services like Migration Hub, Application Discovery Service, Application Migration Service, and Database Migration Service to migrate the applications for lift and shift and modernization of the databases from a customer data center and from Microsoft Azure cloud. So these are the two different use cases that I'm going to discuss in this series of videos, and that will help you to understand how we are going to migrate, what all things needs to be considered, what all different steps are there. So I would suggest to start from part one and go forward by understanding the basic concepts so that you can gain confidence out of it. So I hope the reference migration architecture is clear what we are going to discuss. We are going to discuss all this infrastructure, this diagram that will be discussed throughout this series of migration videos. So understand what exactly in this is so that you do not get confused at the later stage. Also, one more thing, we will use AWS Cloud Formation template to deploy all this infrastructure. So cloud, there is one template is already in place from AWS. So we will use that and deploy all these infrastructure on AWS. And the prerequisite that you should have the AWS free tier account. You can create that. In case you're not sure how to create that, you can watch my previous videos. And once we log into AWS Cloud, then we can use all these services. But for to create this environment, you need a separate account for Microsoft Azure, how to create a server and how to migrate from that Azure to AWS. So we will create this, and from Bastion host, we will access all these servers for on-premises and all these databases from on-premises. And then using Migration Hub, we will deploy agents for migration. So that's quite interesting concept and interesting use cases that will be discussed in this. So let's move forward. Currently I'm discussing high level what all will be there in the series of this. So, but all these practicals, the discussion will be based on this only. So this is the base migration architecture that I'm going to discuss, and based on that, all videos will be moved forward. So migration reference architecture. So we will deploy the architecture that I discussed using the CloudFormation stack, and then we will access the environment from AWS Cloud, and like we will access this Bastion host from our laptop, and this is our current laptop. So from this over the internet, we will access it and access the Bastion host. So from Bastion host, we will access application server, another application server and database for this application and database for this application. So from there, from this Bastion host is as I described before. This is similar to customer data center. That's how things are done. They have one Bastion host in the public subnet and all the application servers in the private subnets that are not exposed to environment. So our main concept over here is that we need to discuss about the migration concepts using this demo. So we have created all this infrastructure over the AWS cloud, but sort of similar case of environment that exists in customer data center. So all these things are in place like that. So using the CloudFormation stack, we will deploy all this infrastructure, and then the creation of network components, the creation of compute parts, all these, and databases. So all these creation of Bastion host, creation of application server, DB server, that is done through CloudFormation stack. And then we access the Bastion and explore our environment. So I'll show you all these things practically. So first, I'm just giving you high level what all will be discussed in this practical in this series of videos. So I hope you understand the current environment and how things are in place, the architecture that I'm discussing about. So moving forward. So first we will, as I discussed before, I'll using application discovery service. We will install the agents on the server and enabling ADS and Athena integration. So we will enable Athena integration so that all that data is collected using ADS that can be analyzed in Athena. And then we will install the ADS agents in the servers and start collecting the data from the servers. And then we will browse the discovered data, the network connections, the dependencies, so all these things. And also we will see what all recommendations are there for the servers that are migrated from AWS from on-premises to AWS cloud. So we will see all these things practically. So that's first part of practical that I'll showcase in the practicals. So that this is the high level of the things that I'm discussing about. So exploring in AWS Athena, very important part of the practical. So in this, we will also discuss we will analyze the data that is gathered using ADS, the discovery tool. So we will analyze all that data, because when we talk about migration, there are thousands of servers. So we cannot analyze all that. So we need a AWS service, Athena service is there. So through which we can analyze the data that is collected by agents over AWS, so that we can plan our migration. So we'll run queries in this AWS Athena. I'll show you this practically also. So first part, collected the data, and the next part we are going to analyze the data. So this is analysis of the data that we are doing. So here we will see how many the servers that are collected, what all the IP addresses are their host names, and also we will identify servers with or without agents that are running, analyze system performance data using the agents, track inbound communication between servers, so based on port numbers, track outbound and inbound communication, identify software from port numbers. So we will assess the servers from various aspects, like the performance of the server, the connections that servers are making for inbound and outbound, and what all softwares are running on the servers, and to what port number they are making the connection. So getting more and more information, again stressing on that, the more and more information we have, so based on that information we can create the similar kind of infrastructure over the AWS cloud. So we will gather all that information on AWS cloud using AWS Athena. So we'll get all this information and it will be stored in S3 storage. So that will help you to give more insights also. And the CSV templates, the information, all those information can be downloaded in the CSV format, and so that for analysis this can be analyzed in a more graphical manner. So through that we can watch all this data in the XLS CSV format, and then we can assess the environment and gather more and more information. So once we have discovered the environment, we gather the information, then we will think about workload migration. So in this part of the series, I'll stress on how to rehost your workloads. Rehost means lift and shift. Lift and shift as it is from on-premises to AWS cloud. So I hope you remember this was the architecture that I discussed before. So in this I'll use application migration. So in the previous slides I have stressed using migration hub for monitoring application discovery, for gathering the data. So in this, when we have complete data, then we will start migration of the server using a lift and shift rehost approach. So in this I'm using application migration service, and which is the next generation of Cloud Endure migration. So previously Cloud Endure was used, but now AWS is recommending to use a application migration service. It's based on the same concept. So same concept is used for creating all those different environments and lift and shift of the servers. So for many use cases, application migration service is used because this is the fastest route to the cloud, because as per the understand of various challenges and pain points from the customer, they want to migrate some of the servers as quickly as possible to the AWS cloud. So in that case, we will use application migration service. Although there are other options also, like importing of the servers or the SMS also. But in this, I am covering in this series, I am covering application migration service. So mostly this can be used in most of the use cases. So you can use this also. So in this, we will talk about practical migration of the servers using application migration service to migrate 4 servers from on-premises to AWS Cloud. And also we will also cover in the practical to migrate the server from Azure Cloud. So I hope so far things are clear what exactly I'm trying to communicate in this series. So migration process, these are the basic steps that I'll cover in the series. Create application migration service, replicate IAM user, then replication settings, installing the agents on the on-premises server. So we will install the agents of application migration service on these servers, and also we will install the agent on the Azure also. So there are two parts, part 1 and part 2. So in part 1, we will migrate servers from Microsoft Azure, and similar approach is there, but only I'll show you the differences. Then configure the EC2 launch template. So EC2 launch template means the server that we are migrating from on-premises to AWS Cloud. As per the recommendations also, or as per our assessment also, we can create the template on which server will be deployed. Template means the size of the instance that will be kept, the RAM that will be used. So all these details are described in the template, in which network it needs to be deployed. So all those details. Then after that, once we configured that and all the data is synced up, then we will launch the test instance based on the, so once we install the agents, the replication will start in application migration service, and based on that replication, we can launch the test instance to perform the tests on the migrated servers. So once that is done, then we will launch the cutover instance. And after cutover instance, then we ensure that okay, all those data is synced up, and we can launch cutover instance. And after performing the basic tests, once the instance is migrated, we will perform the first part. We will perform the test of the instances. So once tests are successful, then we will launch the cutover instance. So once cutover instance is launched, then we are sure everything is migrated, and then we will shut down this environment and update the DNS server. So we have one DNS server also in this environment, and we will update the DNS settings. So before DNS was pointing to this side, after that updating the DNS, it will be moved to this. So that's how actually done in use cases, industry use cases. So after migrating, we need to update the DNS. So here it is an internal DNS, but mostly in more use cases there are external DNSs which are directing towards on-premises network. Once we are planning cutover, then all these records are directed towards AWS Cloud. So that same, whatever was accessed over here, that same can be accessed from here. So updating the DNS, we will shut down this environment and update the DNS. So all that traffic will be moved to AWS Cloud. So after that, we can finalize the cutover. So that's the basic thing about the migration process. So in more detail, I'll show all these things practically, how things are done, and we will discuss in more details. So moving forward, migration is done. Then this is the migration reference architecture. So once everything is migrated, then we have created EC2 instance for WordPress and database and off-biz app and off-biz DB using application migration service. So we have created all this in the target subnet. So all this infrastructure is into AWS Cloud now. So these are the migrated servers once migration is done. So that's first part. So let's move forward, and the next part is the database migration. So as per the concepts that I discussed, that once migration is done, then we need to think about modernizing of the infrastructure also. So workload migration is done as I described in the previous slide. So after that, we will need to modernize also. So in this, we will modernize the infrastructure. So these are the basic steps: creating of the replication network, the launching of the DNS replication instance. So all these steps will be performed during the practical setup. So basic things that needs to be discussed in this during database migration. we will modernize the infrastructure. So moving to next slide, I'll show you how these things are done. So this is the reference architecture. So taking one application in concern, so we will this is the application in scope for this demo. So we have defined the scope. Okay, for this Office app, so we will migrate this database that is currently installed on EC2 instance. So we will migrate this database from EC2 instance to AWS Aurora server service. Aurora service is this is AWS managed database service. So to leverage the cloud benefits, so we are moving to from EC2 instance database to AWS managed services. So all these we are doing using the AWS data migration service. So we are migrating the database from instances to Aurora DB. So here we are using the AWS managed database service to migrate the database. So that's another part of practical thing that we are going to cover. So all these things, I'll show you practically how things are done. So moving forward. So after database is migrated, so then this we will shut down the database that is running on EC2 instance, and the Office app will be connected to Aurora DB. So that's a reference and target architecture in database migration. So I hope you understand the concept that how we discovered the architecture, gathered the information, analyzed the information, migrated the workloads, and then modernizing of the infrastructure. So here we are again migrating the database from EC2 instance to AWS managed services. So that was high level about the series, so that you can develop basic understanding what I am going to cover. So in the next video, I'll perform the practicals. So in the practicals, I'll show you how to access the environment and deploy the environment. First deploy the environment, then we will access that environment, and creation of environment. I'll create small videos so you can watch those for your understanding. But this is a main slide, part one slide. Get the basic understand what all will be there in the various video parts. So I hope this will help you to understand the migration concept, and you will gather more and more concepts of migration. So in case you have any queries, don't hesitate to ping me on my email or on the comments of this video. I'll try to answer those. So that's all for this video. I'll share more concepts and practical things in the next video. So that's all for this video. See you in the next video.